Failure breeds danger. Danger breeds consequence. This wasn't an accident. It was a policy failure.
The Afghan Connection, in theaters now.
The day before Thanksgiving, an Afghan national opened fire on American soldiers just blocks from the White House. One is now dead. Another is still fighting for his life. And tonight, President Trump is demanding answers. Who let this man into the country? Who gave him access to our streets? And why did the Biden administration fly in thousands just like him with virtually no vetting? The answers will make your blood boil. But first, you need to understand how deep this goes. So before we begin, some hopeful news. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, the guardsman still fighting for his life, has responded to nurses. West Virginia's governor says Andrew gave a thumbs up when asked if he could hear them, even wiggled his toes. Those prayers are working, America, so keep them coming. But sadly, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom did not make it. She was only 20 years old. She joined the West Virginia National Guard to serve her country. Assigned to the 863rd Military Police Company, 111th Engineer Brigade, last Wednesday, November 26th, near Farragut Square Metro Station. She was gunned down by a man who never should have been on American soil. She was pronounced dead at MedStar Washington Hospital on November 27th. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, 24 years old, took bullets trying to protect his fellow soldiers. He remains hospitalized and in critical condition. The shooter, Ramanullah Lakanwal, he's 29 years old. Was brought here under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome on September 8th, 2021. He reportedly served in a CIA-backed Afghan strike unit called Zero Unit. He was given a visa, given support, given access to everything that America offers. And when that visa expired, he simply overstayed. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that he was one of thousands of unvetted Afghans mass paroled into the United States under Biden. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt today confirmed multiple other Afghans admitted under Biden have attempted or carried out attacks on American soil. Now, hold on. We do have some breaking news that is coming in. And while the Biden administration was busy flying in unvetted migrants, smart Americans were quietly protecting themselves. Reports are flooding in that silver now hitting all-time highs, and one company is positioned at the center of it. AmeriCorps Resources, trading as AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada, just acquired the Trinity Silver Project from Newmont. And here's the kicker. Newmont is a $100 billion mining giant, became a shareholder in the deal. The stock still trades under 25 cents. With nearly 800,000 ounces already in stockpile, this could be the opportunity of a lifetime. When the government fails to protect you, protect yourself, the full details are at the link in the description, and we thank them for sponsoring this program. Now, here's what the mainstream media will not tell you. Lakanwal drove cross-country from his home in Bellingham, Washington, to carry out this attack. He used a .357 Smith and Wesson revolver in what U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro called a targeted attack. One National Guardsman, unarmed with a firearm, stabbed the shooter with a pocket knife. Another Guardsman responded and shot the attacker. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed virtually no vetting occurred under Operation Allies Welcome. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem revealed that Lakanwal was radicalized inside the United States through networks in his resettled community. Family members told investigators he suffered from PTSD and had been isolated for extended periods. The U.S. CIS has now halted all immigration processing for Afghan nationals pending a full security review. Now, here is the soldier who lost her life, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, a true American hero. She was only 20 years old. And interesting facts are now coming to surface. We had suspected this morning. Prior to the press briefing, we're going to get to some of the remarks from the press secretary. But we did make a post on X that I want to bring to your attention because it basically ties this whole thing together. The new details in the D.C. shooting expose Biden's foreign policy time bomb. New details have emerged about the shocking attack just yards from the White House where a National Guardsman was gunned down by an Afghan migrant. who reportedly served in a CIA-backed unit during the Biden-era war. It's horrifying, but it's not surprising. This is exactly what happens when a president treats America's enemies like charity cases and imports the fallout of his own foreign policy disasters into U.S. soil. Now, long before President Trump returned to office, Biden's reckless withdrawal from Afghanistan flooded America with individuals who had deep paramilitary backgrounds, some trained by intelligence services, others shaped by 2 decades of war. Washington told us they were vetted, but they were not. We were told it was safe. It wasn't. And now under President Trump, we're discovering the truth. The consequences of Biden's foreign policy collapse didn't stay in Kabul. They came to Washington, D.C. armed and angry. The same blowback we saw after the CIA's involvement in Afghanistan in the 80s. The seeds that helped produce Osama bin Laden has erupted again, this time in the form of a CIA-trained Afghan fighter allegedly murdering an American service member steps from the White House gates. Biden created the conditions for this. He resettled fighters from a war zone without proper scrutiny. He armed the Taliban with abandoned U.S. weapons, and he left President Trump to clean up a national security catastrophe that is now literally killing our service members on our own streets. This is not an isolated tragedy. It's a pattern. It is blowback, and it is the price of letting weak ideological leadership gamble with American lives. The American people deserve better than a foreign policy that turns our own capital into a battleground. Now, Biden may be out of office, but his failures are still putting Americans in the crosshairs. So we're going to get to some of the remarks here. Here is the press secretary earlier today that this is not the only example.
To fair, and unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. And
several more examples. Oh, she has more examples. Don't you worry. Here is the White House Post 72 hours ago. This is part of the horrendous airlift from Afghanistan. Hundreds of thousands of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and unchecked. We will fix it, but we'll never forget what crooked Joe Biden and his thugs did to our country. President Trump posting that to Truth Social. Here's more from the press secretary addressing the terror attacks on the National Guard troops in D.C.
West Virginia, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital that last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. 2 young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. I would like to address the horrific tragedy.
The Afghan illegal who shot National Guard troops in D.C. did not stumble into the attack by accident. He overstayed a visa issued under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome on September 8th, right after the botched Kabul pullout. Born in 96, he was last known to live in Washington State, thousands of miles from the capital. This was no local dispute. This was a calculated trip of terror, straight from the playbook of jihadist testing American resolve. American Allies Welcome was supposed to save a handful of interpreters who helped U.S. forces. Instead, Biden and Harris turned it into a free-for-all airlift, flying in over 100,000 Afghans with vetting so lax that terror watch list names slipped right through. Lakanwal was one of those, paroled, untracked, and free to plot while the administration patted itself on the back for humanitarian optics. Now American soldiers pay with their lives for that deliberate blindness. Worse, the shooter did not act alone in spirit. He crossed the country to strike at the heart of power, proving that enemies Biden imported are already practicing terrorism on U.S. soil. Tens of millions of illegals from cartel lands, jihad hotspots, and failed states still roam free, many military-age males with no allegiance to the flag. What follows this attack? Copycats in malls, markets, or streets, just like the Christmas market rampages left Germans in perpetual fear. With Thanksgiving gatherings underway last weekend, families should stay vigilant because the threats Biden unleashed do not take holidays off. Let's keep going here. We have some remarks from the president. Here he is just 24 hours ago on Air Force One.
Give you an update.
You've spoken with Andrew Wolfe's family. Can you give us an update on
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you?
Of course. Okay.
They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew Wolfe's situation?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew. And he has a chance to make it, but he is, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated.
Do you plan
They can't even believe it could happen.
You've spoken with Andrew.
You can't even believe it. We're going to continue here. We have some remarks from Pam Bondi. We have, I think we have some more from President Trump. We'll get to that here. Here he is. This is 4 days ago. He said the suspect is an Afghan national flown here with the previous administration. We have no greater national security priority than ensuring we have full control over the people that enter. We don't want them. There's another remark here that was made by the president. Where to go? I know I just had it here queued up. Where did it go? Maybe it's at the top. There it is. This is 3 hours ago. President Trump speaking at a White House Christmas party honoring the National Guardsman attack last week. Nick Sortor posting this.
He's looking down. I want to just pay my respects to the National Guard and those two incredible people. One is no longer with us. One is looking down and loves her parents. I spoke to her parents the other night, and she's looking down, and she's so proud of her country, and she's so loved her parents so much, and her parents couldn't believe what happened, could not believe it, what happened to their baby, what happened to their daughter. She's gone. And we have another one who's fighting for his life, as you know, and he's a fabulous young man, highest. Both of them were the best everything, the best of their class, the best of their class. And maybe he'll be okay. He's going through a lot, but maybe he'll be okay. But I want to tell you what the National Guard's done, along with other people, including our military, to D.C. Just if we look at D.C., we have a safe city again. I want to just pay my respects.
We have a safe city again. However, Biden's foreign policy disaster is still wreaking havoc. The West Virginia National Guard 4 days ago posted, "We're devastated to confirm the death of our own specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who was shot in the line of duty near Farragut Square Metro Station on Wednesday." So sad. Continuing right along with the remarks we have from, let's see, we just played this one here. Let's go to Alina Habba, Afghan terrorist who shot 2 National Guard soldiers in D.C., was recruited and trained by the CIA before being flown into our country with the intent to murder members of our military.
Everybody. There are a lot of questions today about what we know about the suspect, what his ties were to the United States. We understand that he was working with the CIA in Afghanistan. I bring up again that image of folks clinging to airplanes as his chaotic withdrawal under President Biden was being carried out. Everybody was displaced everywhere, concerned about the Taliban coming in and the dangers that were lying ahead on the ground. But we didn't really think about the danger of bringing 80 to 100,000 people that we hadn't vetted properly into this country. And so if you were just able to say, well, I worked with the CIA and I was trying to help the Americans, you were brought over here. But we don't necessarily know that that was true.
I think what you're implying is that there was a stringent vetting process under the prior administration, and that in itself is flawed. There was no process. We were allowing open borders. We were allowing criminals to come into our country. And then there were individuals that were saying that this should be a safe harbor, a safe haven. Why? America is America because we protect our own. We don't allow this to happen. So when you say we, I want to be very clear. It is not a we. It is not the Trump administration. It was not Trump 1, and it is most certainly not Trump administration that is currently happening. It was the Biden administration that allowed this individual in, that didn't properly vet them, and now an individual who stepped in for someone on Thanksgiving so they could go home, who got sworn in the day prior, is now dead. A 20-year-old is dead. And that is why we fight so hard every day at this Department of Justice. That is why this Trump administration is completely focused on making our streets safer so that crimes like this that had no vetting should never happen. Never happen again.
Yeah, I appreciate you making that distinction, previous administration versus what we're dealing with now. President Trump is actually just trying to do his best to clean up this entire mess and keep Americans safe. It's something that America voted for: immigration, open borders.
That's certainly what we voted for. Pam Bondi, 24 hours ago on Fox News Sunday, discussing the animal who attacked our National Guard heroes in D.C.
Yeah, he had been here through Operation Allies Welcome Program, minimal to little vetting. I was on the phone last night with Secretary Kristi Noem at length. They did not do biometrics. They did not do social media. They did very little, if minimal, vetting on all of these people. And now to take a step back, we have a 1.5 million backlog of people that have come into our country. And as you said, these people are being radicalized. We know that this shooter who shot our National Guardsman in D.C. the day before Thanksgiving, he was radicalized. You're going to hear a lot more about that. And these people should not have been in our country, should have never been in our country under Joe Biden.
They should have never been here. Let's keep going. We have more from Pam Bondi.
They spent Thanksgiving. I've been on the phone with Melody and Jason. Those are Andy Wolfe's parents. These are wonderful people. They were at his bedside last night. They are at his bedside right now. They spent Thanksgiving at Andy's bedside. And Shannon, I just have to say this. We are a praying country, and we all have to pray for Andy's full recovery right now. He is a remarkable young man. He joined the Guard in 2019. His dad's a career police officer. He fought to keep our country safe, and now we have to pray to fight to get him back to 100% and do everything we can to support his family. I'm going to see his parents tonight. Wonderful people. And, you know, we lost Sarah. We lost Sarah to a terrorist attack in our country. That should not be happening in the United States of America. That's why Donald Trump closed our borders. That's why Donald Trump has cut off all of these people from coming into our country. We are going to protect Americans. I've been on the phone with Melody.
Let's keep going because we got some more remarks here. 4 days ago, a question was asked, where is his wife and 5 kids? National Guard shooter Ramanullah Lakanwal arrived in the U.S. in 2021 with his wife, Camila, and 5 kids. This is the wacky couple, LJR Investigates writes. This wacky couple has blood on their hands. Stanley and Valerie Crichton from Bellingham, Washington. They housed the National Guard shooter along with his wife and 5 children. Lots of questions surrounding the humanity of this couple that let them stay in their mansion. This is Stanley and Valerie Crichton from Bellingham, Washington. They let the National Guard shooter live in their $2.7 million home. The Crichtons hate President Trump and hate Republicans. Here's apparently some images of them at the No Kings rally. No kings, no fascists, resist. Dressed like a cat. Look at that. And this resist sign. Here's a social media post from Valerie Crichton. So he's a monster. But then we already knew that. Despicable behavior. And she was referring to Donald Trump, of course. And this is the man himself, the alleged, who lived in their home. I think we have some pictures of their house, but we do have this here. 4 days ago, I remember this. In April, Afghan national Jamal Wali tried to kill 3 police officers in Fairfax, Virginia. Oh my goodness. I'm not even going to entertain this, but you can see the body cam footage. Horrific, guns drawn. Another Afghan national, as you could see, at the direction of the President of the United States, USCIS Director Joseph states, I've directed a full-scale, rigorous examination of every green card for every alien from every country of concern. Here is another one. Afghan national sentenced to 15 years in federal prison after plotting a 2024 election day terror attack on behalf of ISIS in the United States. 19-year-old Abdullah Hajzada was arrested by the FBI in Oklahoma. So this is not an isolated incident. This is only a matter of where one actually succeeded in their attack. President Trump, 4 days ago, referring to the individual.
Most cases, as you may know, DHS has confirmed that the suspect is an Afghan national flown here by the previous administration, who was such a bad administration. And I have a picture of a plane. This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember that period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. And the toughest, meanest, most capable physically got on the plane, not the people that we were looking for or that they wanted to bring in. Here's a picture for you. Just take a look at that plane. Standing on top of each other and sitting on top of each other. This is what we had under the Biden administration. That whole thing should have never, ever happened. They should have left.
Should have never happened. Okay, there's more on that family. The alleged National Guard shooter Ramanullah Lakanwal once stayed in this $2.7 million home in Bellingham, Washington, owned by Stanley and Valerie Crichton. Crichton sponsored Lakanwal and his family in 2021 as part of Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program. They appear to be serial profiteers of the refugee industry and have sponsored other Afghan families and Syrian refugees too. The question being asked is, who is paying for all of this? Look at this house. Hey, yeah, you live in a third world shithole? Come on down and we'll sponsor you. You could live in our $2.7 million house while you get on your feet so you can plot your terror attacks. These must be real estate photos from the property and, of course, the family that allegedly kept these individuals. JLR Investigates. This guy did a hell of a job digging into this. And He asked the question, is Bellingham, Washington a central hub for Afghan refugees? An organization called World Relief's Whatcom County has been based there since 2021, soliciting money. It appears National Guard shooter Ramanullah Lakanwal arrived to the United States through this organization. World Relief's Whatcom County location was approved by the U.S. State Department in September of 21, shortly after the fall of Kabul, and amidst many Afghans arriving to the U.S., our team began welcoming refugees to Whatcom County. We're proud to have welcomed nearly 380 refugees to our community, and we've been able to offer aid to over 500 humanitarian parolees. Immigrant families need you this season. Our neighbors are facing fear, separation, and hunger. Will you stand with them? Okay, I mean, yes, we're all neighbors, but yeah, I'm not getting that. Bring people together. Together we can make Western Washington some of the most welcoming communities in the planet. Will you join us? Will you join us? President Trump announcing 4 days ago the passing of the specialist. Here's another question asked of President Trump. Do you blame all Afghans?
Look at him.
You've made changes for Afghanis' ability to apply for asylum. Do you blame all Afghans for this one man's not?
No, but we've had a lot of problems with Afghans because they had a lot of them coming in on these planes. Again, I show you this picture. We had a lot of them coming in on these planes that are, look at them. There was no checking. They just poured into the plane. And many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are people that shouldn't be here. And many of them have been gotten out. I mean, we've gotten out a lot of the people that, we've taken a lot of them out of here. But they came in, legally, right? Yeah, I know, this the old story. Many are wonderful, yeah, I'm sure.
I said many are here legally, though. What should they think in terms of their prospects?
Well, they can't be happy, okay? They can't be happy. Because what's taking place between that, if you look at Somalia, they're taking over Minnesota, and we got a lot of problems with the gangs, with all of the things taking place in Minnesota. We have an incompetent governor, we have a dope governor. They can't be happy about what's going on. And if you talk about the Afghans, there's a problem because so many Bedouins came in on the planes. They just walked in. Whoever the strongest people were physically in a way, but whoever the strongest, they got on the planes. There was no checking. They just swamped the planes. They took off. We had no idea who they were.
You've made change.
So President Trump was asked by a reporter why he blames the Biden administration. His response, immediate and brutal. Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? They came in on a plane along with thousands of others who should not be here. And that's the raw truth. Sarah Beckstrom is now dead because Joe Biden prioritized global optics over American lives. And Secretary Kristi Noem says up to 100,000 Afghan nationals may now live inside this country with unknown backgrounds. How many more Biden-era time bombs are still buried out there waiting to explode? Now, the story matters because it proves what millions of Americans already knew. The Biden administration treated our homeland like a refugee experiment, and American citizens have now paid the price. A 20-year-old soldier is dead. Her family will spend Christmas planning a funeral instead of celebrating together. And the man who killed her was flown here, housed here, and supported here by policies designed by people who will never face consequences. President Trump has now slammed the brakes. Asylum adjudications pause, special immigrant visas pause, refugee admissions at essentially zero. A 19-country travel ban reinstated. All Afghan immigration cases halted pending security review. The era of blind trust is over, but for Sarah Beckstrom and her grieving parents, it comes too late. So here's my question for the comment section. Should every Afghan admitted under Operation Allies Welcome be completely revetted immediately or just simply sent back? Drop a yes or a no in the comments. You can support independent journalism by visiting Next News merch shop. It is linked in the description down below.